What's going on, everyone? I'm super excited to kick off our next interview of the GBA Real World series. Today, I'm really excited to announce professional ballerina Lauren Ostrander from the Sarasota Ballet. Thanks, Lauren, for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Lauren, could you please give us a quick intro, a little bit of your background, who you are, where you're from, and a bit of your journey to becoming a professional ballerina?
So I'm Lauren, and I was born and raised in Tacoma, Washington. I left home shortly after my 14th birthday, and I moved to Vancouver, British Columbia, and I switched to doing school online, and it was kind of ballet boot camp for me because it's about the age I decided I wanted to try to pursue a career in ballet. I got kind of a late start in terms of taking it seriously and trying to make it. So from there, I then went on and I finished high school in Central Pennsylvania. And then I trained for a year at San Francisco Ballet School. And then I had my first professional contract with Pennsylvania Ballet, second company. Then I had a really serious injury and I had to move back home and I had 2 surgeries. And then I came back from that and got a job as an apprentice with the National Ballet of Canada. Then I went and I trained in Amsterdam for a year. And then I got a corps de ballet contract with the Sarasota Ballet in 2018. And I was promoted to a corps dancer in November 2020. And I absolutely love it here. And it's hopefully my forever home of a ballet company. And I'm just very blessed and fortunate to be here.
Of course. Wow. So corps dancer. So it's kind of cool because most of my athletes I've done so far have either been soccer, football, or basketball. So I'm really interested. What does a typical day look like for you throughout the week, especially with your training regimen?
So, I mean, there's definitely things that I do each day. It's just sometimes they happen in a different order. It kind of depends on the intensity of the schedule. But basically, I'll just give a sample day. So say I wake up between 6 and 6:30, I have breakfast. And then if I don't have a super intense rehearsal day, or if I feel like my body can handle it, I'm an avid Pelotoner. So I usually get on the bike for like 45 to 60 minutes. I just love it. I love music and I like pushing myself and it's just so fun and kind of addicting. So I'll do that. And then I'll head to the studios. I leave my place at like 8:45, class starts at 9:30. So I'm typically, hopefully already warmed up. Another reason I like to ride before class is because it just I get a good sweat in and then I feel like my body's and my joints are kind of already ready to go. And then I'll go and I'll do some activation exercises, like Pilates type things before class. And then I have company class from 9:30 to 10:45. And that's the same every single day. So even if I have no rehearsals or if I have rehearsals till 5:30, we always start our day with a class. Just to kind of get warm, but also not just to use it as a warm up. It helps us refine our technique and, kind of perform maintenance, but also try to get better and, look at the people around you and get inspired. So it's a really important part of each day. And then from there, I might have the morning rehearsal block, which is 11 to 1. And it varies depending on the repertoire that we're doing, whatever I'm performing. Sometimes it's crazy and I can't catch a break for 2 hours, and other times I'm understudying or I'm second cast, or I have to be ready to go in an hour and a half into that rehearsal and I have to be responsible and stay warm and be taking the corrections for other people. Then we have lunch from 1 to 1:45, and then we have another rehearsal block from 1:45 to 3:15, which is kind of maybe the same thing as the morning or something else that we're rehearsing, but same sort of thing. You got to be ready to go. And then we have a 15-minute break, and then we have 3:30 to 5 as our last rehearsal block. So it kind of varies. Sometimes I'm not in every single rehearsal call, but a lot of the times I am. And so I don't know, I love it. It's so fun when you're trying.
That's ridiculous, trying to manage a schedule like that and constantly working. It sounds like you barely even have a break.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've gotten good at just, having protein bars and filling up your water bottle. It's perfect. I don't think it could be shorter than 15 minutes, but you can definitely do everything you need to do.
Yeah, you know what's funny, and just to go off that, so one of the reasons why I started this brand, so GBA Ethos, the culture of grinding, and I look at someone like you who honestly throughout your entire day of what you just said, you are grinding at every step, you are having to work hard. In your profession, less than 10% of the ballerinas and dancers who kind of go through it become professional. And as a professional ballerina, some people would argue that it actually takes more dedication and focus to hit that next level of successful. Where would the GBA mindset come into play as someone who has to constantly hold themselves to the highest standard? I mean, I can think of your workouts, your nutrition, your recovery. How does that come into play?
First of all, it's not so hard because I love it. And part of the reason I love it is because it's all encompassing. Like, you can't get bored, you can't get complacent, otherwise you'll fall behind. And so it's kind of amazing. It's like one of the few things in this world that I can think of that you really can't turn it off and just forget about it and be able to go back to it the same state that you left it, because like, even if you have like a week where you don't put the right food into your body, like, you're gonna tell, like when you go back to your job, when you go back to your desk, like, maybe it's fine, you pick up your emails, but with ballet, like, no, you won't be able to get your leg as high, your endurance won't be as good. So I love that it's just really hard because I know I love the challenge. I think it's really stimulating. I feel like because it's so hard to make it, once you're in that, finite group of dancers that has made it, like you said, that is where the real work begins, because you realize that you are now part of an elite group of people that also had what it took to make it. Because
Right.
before, when you're training, like, it's what I've learned is it's typically not ballet that makes someone not make it. It's all the other obstacles and adversities and the injuries or the sacrifices or the internal versus external validation and support and all these other things that get in the way and make it so that people don't get there. It's not their love of dance necessarily. But once you're in, then you realize you're like, oh crap, like, I'm also with the other 1 to 10%ers.
Right.
So now what can I do to further separate myself, or just kind of maybe identify what you did to get here and then look at how you need to adjust that in a different setting? Because I don't feel like, now that I'm in a company, I don't feel like I'm a completely different dancer, or I don't have a different work ethic, but you have to learn how to adapt it. And it's also interesting because, like, when you're a student, you can literally grind so hard because you're younger, you don't have rehearsals, you can just take classes, and all you have to do is focus on getting your technique better. But when you're a professional, like, as you heard, my rehearsal schedule is long, and that's after a class. And when you're a student, you're used to having class and some rehearsals, but like, when you're doing a ton of different types of dance, it's different. Like, you're using different muscles and it affects your body differently. Something that I've had to learn is like how to train smart, not just work hard. So like, at first I was like, oh my gosh, like, I feel like I'm being lazy because I've had to take it easy on this, this stuff in class today, because I know I have 6 hours of this coming up. Like, am I still a hard worker?
When in reality, you're helping yourself out, right?
Yeah. And the same thing, like, you have to learn when you've done enough and when I don't need to get on the Peloton, or I don't need to do more Pilates, or, I need to just sit with my feet in an ice bucket, or I need to prioritize rolling out, or, I don't know. It's just like, it's a highly fluid situation, and you're basically operating with a moving target. So you have to know how to kind of adjust where is needed.
See, it's so interesting to hear you say that, because you understand that you can't get complacent, but you also understand the importance of rest, right? Because if you're putting your body through that much activity daily, but you're not taking care of it, right, you're not going to be able to perform at your top notch every single day. And that's kind of, my next question. As someone who has to perform at the highest level, you have a lot of faces on you, a lot of younger people, a lot of people who look up to you, who want to be in your shoes, just like any sport, but especially for your sport, it's very hard to get where you are. That's why I love this idea of grinding, especially for our youth. Why is it important for someone like you to kind of maintain that role model, that leadership perspective, and for people to see your hard work? Do you feel like you're giving back, or do you feel it's just, part of your nature that you want to show people that, this is what it takes to get to where I am?
Yeah, I don't know if I look at it as like, oh, this is what I need to do for the ballet community. I think of it more as like, this is just kind of who my parents taught me to be, because I watched their work ethic, and this is just who I am. And I hope that someday, when I can no longer dance, when I don't want to think about that, I hope this will carry through to that. However, I think what's most important is like to live my life by example, but also just to like reiterate that it's it's not like I'm taking a magic pill or I'm doing something really, really, really special. Literally, like the secret that I tell people is just not to stop. You cannot give up. It doesn't matter what the heck is happening to you. Even if like I can go through a list of all my worst case scenarios that I like literally identified prior to them happening, and then they happened. And then I was okay because I didn't stop.
Right.
Like I didn't walk for 7 months. I lost my first job. Like I had my left foot reconstructed and I didn't know if I could dance again, but I was like, well, I have to try. And then there was this moment, like after I came back from 2 years of being away from the stage and like rehabbing, and it was so hard. I was standing getting ice in the ice room at the National Ballet of Canada. I remember just like having this conversation with myself, and I was like, how did I get here? Like, this is insane, because it was such a dream come true. I was like, how am I here? Like, this is surreal. And then like I heard God say, it's because you didn't stop, you know, like you just don't stop. So bringing that back into like grinding, like, I don't know, it's like you just get on the train of not stopping. You just don't get off, you know, even if you're like, oh my gosh, I think we're going the wrong way, just like stay on it.
I like that so much. And that's one of the reasons why I started this brand, because for me, GBA, my entire focus to professional soccer has been the grind, just working hard, right? And I feel like a lot of people hear, oh yeah, okay, he grinds. Yeah, I just got to grind every day. But they don't really understand the concept of what grinding can actually mean in your life for you when you're actually performing, but off it, when you're not performing, how are you taking care of yourself, the rest, etc. And that's why I think grinding is so important, to the foundation of GBA. And, you know, just listening to that story, would you be able to give me a specific time where you felt yourself really challenged? You kind of mentioned a couple things, but what would be one where you could take out of your entire career where you honestly just had to put your head down and grind and the outcome was in your favor?
So after I came back from my injury, the injury was one thing, but I mean, that was kind of extreme.
Mm-hmm.
After I came back from that and I had my job with Canada, there was another year where I didn't have a job anywhere. And that was really tough for me because I had just come back from this like hellacious adversity, and I had gotten something like so special and surreal, which was, you know, being an apprentice with one of the top companies. And then they didn't hire me and no one else did. I auditioned for 26 ballet companies and I didn't get a job anywhere. And I remember like laying on the floor crying in my room, not wanting to give up, but like really fearing that I was going to have to give up because of something that was completely out of my control. Because I almost wish that people told me like I wasn't good enough so then I could work harder. But it was just that like there just wasn't an open door for me for some reason anywhere. But I just knew I couldn't give up. So I chose to go back to a ballet academy after being a professional and after being off for 2 years. And I just had to give up a lot of the freedoms that you have as a professional. I had to wear a uniform and like things that sound trivial, but like to a dancer, and when you're 22 and in class with people that are 6 years younger than you, it's just different. Like they haven't, you know, fully matured with their bodies, and I was in a different culture, and it was just a lot of things were different. And it was like, I wouldn't change it for the world, but it was very difficult. It was a different level of adversity, a different kind of adversity than my injury, but it almost stripped me of so many things. And I just remember being in this really small room in Amsterdam. I had to share a kitchen with 11 people.
Oh my gosh.
It was not ideal. I just remember being like, feeling so defeated because I hadn't been hired anywhere. And I felt like I had just like been thrown backwards. But I just remember like sitting on that bed, or sometimes I would go to the bathroom during class and I would just cry because I couldn't fathom how I had gotten to that place, even though like, I think deep down I knew that like I chose to be there and that was me not giving up.
Absolutely.
It wasn't that like I had quit, and it wasn't that, you know, I had failed, but it felt like it so many times because it was just like, you just had to rely on that like underlying level of grit that basically you don't even know you have until you're faced with something that exposes it. And I just remember like, if you can imagine like yourself laying down on the ground, this is not what happened, but this is like the only way I can explain it. And like, there's just these ropes and they are way stronger than you. I mean, you're not strong enough to pull yourself up on them, but you're just clinging to them and you're just trying so hard to get up, and you just
Right.
feel like you can't. And then all of a sudden, slowly, after like 3 months, maybe you start to get up a little bit. And then by the end, like you're standing and you just feel, I don't know, stronger and I don't know, braver. And you just realize that like you did that, and you're not perfect, but I don't know. It just like, I look now at where I'm at and being here in Sarasota, it's so amazing. Like, I see that God knew what he was doing all along with every single door he closed. Like, for 6 years, I moved every single year because I just couldn't find the right place for me. And now that I'm here, like, I so understand why it didn't work out everywhere else. And I see why I had to struggle in each of those chapters, you know?
Right.
Here, and it's like, it's incredible. Like, for example, when I was injured, I literally sat on the couch for months because I couldn't even like make myself toast. But I got my Pilates certification during that time because I was like, I'm gonna go insane. And then now being here in Sarasota, not since COVID, but before that, I was teaching as a Pilates instructor on Longboat Key, and I met some of the most phenomenal people that, you know, have become my family here. And I just think about it and I'm like, had I not gotten injured, had I not gotten my, you know, certification, like I wouldn't have met these people that I can't imagine my life without now. And maybe I wouldn't know how to take care of my body, and I wouldn't know how to be strong, and maybe I wouldn't have gotten to Sarasota. Like, there's just so many things that are insane and amazing. And I mean, it's just that, like, you just don't stop. And even in the moments where you think you need to, you have to remember who you are and that you've come through this much, and that you just got to keep going. Even if you don't know how you're going to get there, you just don't stop.
I love that. And that's why I'm so excited for people to hear your journey, because I think you bring something, sure, the hard work, but it's just another level of work that you've had to go through. It's turning every corner and hearing your story, and you know what? Oh, here's the next obstacle. Here's the next obstacle. Oh, this doesn't work. I actually have to go back, right? You had to go back to the academy. You had to drop your pride and work now with younger people to now get to the top. And I just think, like, when I think about the mentality of grinding, that is all what that's about. So just to end this, I have one more question for you. Who would you say has been your role model throughout this journey? You know, someone who's instilled, sure, the GBA mentality, but that hard work, regardless of what others say, for you.
There's two people. One person I know more from like an internet relationship sort of thing. Like, they kind of mentored me through messaging me through my injury. And then another person who I didn't see her through this period of her struggles, but I know her story, and I, you know, see her actions, or I saw her actions when I was in Canada every day. So there's two people. And the first is a principal dancer with the Royal Ballet, Lauren Cuthbertson. She has had multiple long-term injuries, like more than one, I think more than two, like 18 months plus. And I heard about her story when I was going through my injury, and I sent her a message, and she was so kind, and she messaged me back, and she's like ballet celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
And we just developed this relationship, and she was just so supportive. And like, you know, I would message her and I was like, my stitches aren't healing, or, you know, like my incisions, I'm having issues with that. Like, it's splitting open. Like, this is what I feel. I can't move my big toe. Like, did that ever happen to you? Or I'm scared to start PT. I'm scared to walk again. And she was just so supportive and would message me. And fast forward 2-ish years, maybe more, 3 years actually, from my surgery, I was taking a ballet class in Switzerland, and she was also taking the same class.
No
and
way.
I came up to her, and I had never met her before, and we had never FaceTimed or anything. And I was like, I don't know if you know who I am. And she recognized me, and she was like, Lauren Ostrander. And I was like, yeah. And it was just so cool, because she was like, oh my gosh, look at you, like, you're strong. And she was so complimentary. And when she heard where I was dancing, like, she was so proud, and it was just so amazing and special. And I just so look up to her, because I know how hard it was to go through what I went through as like a lowly 19-year-old who was just starting her career. Like, I can't imagine being at the top of your game and being an international star and having that happen to you more than once and still not giving up. Like, that's just so amazing and inspiring. And the other person, I won't share her whole story because I don't want to give wrong information, but her name is Jackie Oakley, and she is a dancer with the National Ballet of Canada, and she has been through more than anyone that I know. And I think more, like, if you could like come up with a story of someone who's been through a lot, you need to add like 500% to her story, because it's insane. And she just did not give up. And I get chills thinking about her story. Like, she's the most inspiring and kind and just encouraging and supportive individual. And she's just a beautiful dancer. And like, you know, there was a time where doctors told her she would never dance again, and she did, and she came back, and she's such a fighter. And I don't know, I really look up to her. And I feel like something that I've learned over the past few years is that when you look at a dancer, and like, you know, I thought this growing up, like when you look at the girls in Point Magazine, which is a big ballet magazine, or, now on Instagram. Luckily, that wasn't really a thing when I was like a young teenager, but you look at them and you just assume that like it's a really straight road for them to have gotten to where they're at. But I think I know one person who had a journey that like you would assume. Everyone else has had the most crazy, like, unexpected obstacles, everyone to get here. So like, I think that's just also a testament to dancers and their level of resilience and, their work ethic and their grind mentality, because this career is not easy. It's very hard. You have to withstand a lot of physical discomfort, but at the same time, and if not more so, there's a lot of stuff that goes on psychologically. And so you just kind of have to get yourself into that right mindset and know that like you're not going to waver no matter what it is. And I think that's why people who have made it to the level that they have, like they just let the punches roll off of them. And I think that's one thing that like everyone has in common, which was so interesting when I was like, after my injury, 'cause I was like, oh man, like, I don't know, I was younger and I was still like, I don't know, just trying to figure out how to like deal with what I had gone through at such an early stage in my career. And I remember being like, oh, no one's going to understand. Like I wanted that validation, but now I don't think about it at all. I'm like, well, I know it's fine. But now like the older I get and the more people I talk to, I realize that like everyone has something like that. And so it's okay if you don't understand each person's story, but they have one and you respect it and you see how like each person has had to overcome things. And I just feel like it's this like unified level of respect for everyone in the community, and it's amazing.
I love that. And Lauren, I think that a lot of athletes, whatever sport they're in, they look at people like you, or they look at other athletes and they say, well, I just want that straight path journey. And it's something that it's nice to hear that from you. I mean, listening to your story, your journey was not a straight path. And I'm kind of excited to see where it continues to go, because of not only all the obstacles that you had to overcome, but now knowing that you overcame them, that, the sky's the limit for you. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with me. I know everyone's going to be really excited to watch it. They're going to learn a lot. I know I did, but thank you again for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thanks, Lauren.